exactly.
James Ernest of the Grueling Truth Radio Network here with Logan Storley of Bellator MMA. Logan, tell us about this big fight coming up between you and Mr. Haley on July 14th.
Yeah, it's my first fight in Bellator with a new promotion, and I'm excited. I'm excited to go in there and show everyone, what the hype is about, and that I'm truly meant to be there, and take care of business and show off my skills that I've been honing with Henry Hoof down here in Florida, and I'm just excited for the opportunity.
Of late, a lot of the fighters I spoke to, I asked them about, hey, what are your thoughts on your opponent? What do you think about their strategy and all? How's that going to affect you? And most of them of late have been telling me they don't even care what the opponent brings. They're just focused on themselves. Is that also the case with you?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time, with this sport, it's just evolving so much. Every single year, every single fight card, we see some new things. And so the biggest thing for me early in my career is just to get as good as I can. I'm worried about myself, I can't worry about what my opponent's going to do for 8 weeks. I have to spend those 8 weeks of training camp and, this is what I do full time, it's 24/7 thing. And so I'm just worried about myself, taking care of myself, and making sure that I'm ready come fight night. But at the same time, you like to look at a little film and see what they have and see what they're good at, and some little pieces that you can take. And so I've watched some film, but for the most part, I'm just worried about myself and being 100% and being ready, physically and mentally on Friday night.
I agree with you. That makes more sense now, because a lot of them make it sound like they don't even watch the film, and I'm like, how do you not watch the film if, say, he tends to shoot with his left or shoot with his right? You want to know that ahead of time. I mean, that kind of stuff I would think would be important.
Yeah, definitely. Coming from a college wrestling background, I always watch film, but you can't let it overtake what you're going to do. And some guys, I feel like, watch a little too much and they game plan around, this is going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. Guys pull out, you might get a different guy. So that's why, I just take care of myself and I watch the little things. And if I see something that, maybe he's good at or maybe is different that I haven't seen, then we'll work on it. And but for the most part, it's focusing on myself and what I'm good at.
So how'd camp go?
Camp went great. I came down here end of February, and I fought April 29th. There's a minute 12 fight. Got in there and took care of business, and then I went right back into camp. So for me, it's not about being in camp all the time. It's just, I love doing this, and this is what I've wanted to do for a long time. And it's a lot easier when you're staying in shape and you're just constantly improving and getting better. It makes your life a lot easier compared to getting out of shape and 35 pounds. So I've learned a lot over the last year of my career, and so this camp, this last few months, 4 months, has flown by, and I'm ready and I feel good. I'm 100%, so I'm excited.
I looked up the rule online, so I understand how you accomplish this goal, but if we could have you tell the fans how you accomplished 6 state titles. Because originally when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's got to be an error because you're only in high school 4 years. But then I looked it up, and I understand why now, but could you explain to them how you did it?
Yeah, so in South Dakota, Minnesota, North Dakota, there's New York, there's a couple other states you can wrestle varsity once you hit 7th grade, so 7th through 12. So I won 6 state titles my 7th grade year through my senior year. And so it was a great career, and went to University of Minnesota after that. And, was a 4-time All-American, but I never accomplished that goal of being a national champion. And so that's why truly I think I'm in this sport, and why I'm so, why I want to win that title so bad is because I had heartbreak 4 years in a row in my college career. And a lot of people would say, it was a great career. I was a 4-time All-American, but that just didn't cut it for me. That wasn't what I went to college to do, was to be a 4-time All-American. I went there to win national titles. And so now it's my time to win the gold in MMA, and I'm excited.
So what was the recruitment process like with Minnesota? Did you have a bunch of suitors, or did it take a while to decide on Minnesota, or did you always want to be a Golden Gopher?
I talked to Nebraska and Minnesota were the two that I had it narrowed down to, and Minnesota just made more sense, and I really liked the coaches and the training partners, and we had a great team. We won 3 national dual titles, and we got second, third, second, eighth as a team, and so we had a lot of heartbreak as a team too. We came in second, third, second, 3 years in a row, and so now it's time for that heartbreak to be over. And we came so close as a team, and I did as an individual, and so many times. And so I'm very proud of what me and my team accomplished. But now it's on to MMA, and now it's time to finally get that gold and get that just that sense of accomplishment of being the best in the world, of being the best at what you do. And so that's really, really what. When I wake up every morning, I'm excited to go to practice. I'm excited for Friday night. And I've grown a lot that way since my first fight. I was so nervous and anxious and
I know what you mean.
This is what I want to do. So
definitely, yeah. When you're motivated and it's something that you love, you're not working a day in your life. You're doing what you want to do. So yeah, it's understandable you would be excited. So what was it like in Minnesota? Did the campus atmosphere, was it did they take a lot of pride in their wrestling there?
Yeah, we have one of the best programs in the history of college wrestling, and we always had great support from the university and from fans and alumni, and I had the best coaches, a guy to ask for, Jay Robinson, Brandon Aga, Luke Becker. I had it all, and I had great teammates and training partners. So it was a great atmosphere being in the Midwest, where wrestling is, in a lot of people's blood, and so it was a great college career, and I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the people that I got to be around, and so I'm excited for the future of that program also.
With finishing twice better in the NCAA than you did the Big Ten tournament, and then one of the other years you finished in the same ranking in the Big Ten and the NCAA, do you feel that the Big Ten is clearly the best wrestling conference?
Yeah, I placed higher at the NCAA 2 or 3 out of the times compared to the Big Ten, so it's by far the toughest conference in wrestling, by far. Other conferences are starting to, get better, and they're starting to put teams in, but for the most part, the Big Ten has got the best teams and the best wrestlers overall.
Since you mentioned it earlier about not staying in shape the whole time and not having to worry about cutting weight, at one point, or when you wrestled, you were 174 and now you're 170. What type of weight do you walk around at with that being your goals?
I walk around probably about 183 to 185. So it's a lot different now that I got my weight down and I got everything honed in. It's very, very easy for me to make weight, but I feel strong at 170. So there's no point for me to go to 155 at this point. I know a lot of guys, a lot of 170 pounders are walking around at 200, 195. But you can tell fight night when they get in there and they get tired and they're cutting 15 to 18 pounds a week of the fight, and I don't want to do that. It's tough on your body. It's tough to dehydrate and then go out there and perform at a high level, and it's bad for your career. You see a lot of people who cut so much weight, 2 years later, they're not the same person because they've destroyed their body, and so I'm not interested in doing that.
I was lucky enough last week to have a fellow newcomer to Bellator, just like yourself, Ramiro Cotton, and he, of course, was a wrestler in college. Do you do any coaching? Because he said if he wasn't an MMA fighter, he'd be doing coaching.
Yeah, I really enjoyed coaching with the high school guys and helping the college guys. After my first year out, I went back a couple times and helping you. I love wrestling. That's, I'm a wrestler. But I don't know what I'd be doing. I have a business degree, and so there's a lot of things I'd like to do after I'm done fighting. But I definitely did enjoy coaching, and but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's what I would be doing or if that's where I'll go after. But I do enjoy, giving back to the sport that has given me so much.
I was going to ask you if not winning the NCAA title had impacted you, but clearly it has definitely motivated you to go into the MMA. Do you feel that if you had won, say the 4 titles, that you might not have done MMA, or do you'd always plan on doing MMA?
I had it in my mind to do MMA since I was, probably an 8th grade or freshman. I had 3 fights in high school, 3 amateur fights, and so I've always been very intrigued in MMA and interested, and I love the sport since the first time I watched it. But it definitely, there is something to be said of accomplishing your goals. Especially to win 4 NCAA titles like Stake, and 3 people have done it. Or even to win 2, 3. Then I think, a lot of guys stick around wrestling and they get into coaching, or they go on the world team, try to make the Olympics. So I don't know what would have happened, but I definitely know that my motivation and, to become the best in the world, I've learned so much by not accomplishing my goals. The little things that maybe I could have done different. Maybe some days you don't want to go to practice or you're not feeling it. And I just kind of think of, the things I could have done differently, or if I would have done this in college. So I don't want to have those regrets. I don't want to think back when my career's over. Like, I wish I would have done this different. I wish I would have pushed a little harder, been more selfish about myself and taken care of, everything I needed to. So right now it's all about my career and, becoming the best in the world.
So, obviously you have a famous alum from Minnesota that wrestles, professionally, Charlie Haas. Obviously, he's had a big impact on Brock Lesnar. Yeah, no offense to Charlie, but let's be honest, everybody loves Brock. So, how did he influence you?
Yeah, Brock actually is from the same high school as I am. So we had the same high school wrestling coach. He's from the same hometown as I am. We both went to Minnesota. But, I've spent some time with Brock, and I've been down when he was training. I got to go watch some workouts and spend some time. And so he's definitely helped me. And he's been a big, inspiration. Seeing a guy from a small town go do the things that he's done, it's very cool to see. A guy from a town of 1,800 people go win an NCAA title at the University of Minnesota and then go to WWE. And then he went to, the UFC and won a title, and he's back in the WWE. And so it's very cool to see, and I definitely take some inspiration from that. Him accomplishing his goals, and it's a great guy to look up to.
How do you feel your wrestling is transferred into MMA?
My wrestling style, I guess, is definitely different. I scrambled a lot in college and put myself in a lot of situations, and it's transferred very well for me. The scrambles and jiu-jitsu and everything, it's been gone very well for me so far. And, a lot of guys, they're great wrestlers in the sport of wrestling, but sometimes it doesn't transfer over well, and that hasn't been a problem for me. And so, I'm a better wrestler now than I was in college. There's no doubt about that. But that just comes from getting older and getting more mature and learning things and just picking up on the little things that, a 20-year-old doesn't pick up on. I'm 24 now, and I've learned so much, even still in wrestling. I'll go in and the little things I pick up, I wish I would have known, or I wish I would have been able to use some things that I'm learning now in my college career.
With 5 KO wins in your first 5 fights, who's been coaching up your striking that get you to do so well at striking?
Yeah, I just moved down to Florida about 4 months ago, like I said earlier, and Henry Hooft has made a big impact. And, I worked with great coaches all along. But, yeah, Henry Hooft has definitely taken my striking to a whole new level. He's the best striking coach in the world. And, he's a great head coach, and he's really just honed in on and simplified things for me, breaking things down to where I can look at it like I look at wrestling, the angles, the movement, and I know how to manage a wrestling match, and I know the angles and where to step and the fakes and the body fakes, and he's transferred that over for me to look at striking like I look at wrestling. And so once you start breaking things down and make it very simple, everything starts to click. This sport is, if you break it down, it is very simple. If you do the little things right and you have the basics down, you can become a very good fighter. And I think some people get lost with trying to do everything so great, trying to know 5,000 different things, especially young fighters. And the more I've spent time with, world-class fighters like Robbie Lawler and Michael Chandler, the more I'm starting to understand it's about the basics and being very good at the basics and the simple things and breaking things down and getting great at those things.
Okay, so in other words, instead of learning all the different techniques and being okay at them, being a jack of all trades, master of none, in some cases it's better to be just focus on the main things. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 100%. A good defense, and you have a few good combos, and obviously you're seeing, you're learning new things, but you really have to hone in on those basics. And without the basics, you're not going to go very far. And like wrestling, I guess our coaches always said, you need one takedown that can take down anybody in the country. You don't need 50 takedowns that can't take down anybody. Maybe you can take down the number 15 ranked guy, but it doesn't work on the top 10 guys. Your 50 takedowns, then it's no good. So, like Jordan Burroughs has the double leg. Everyone knows the double leg's coming, but they still can't stop it. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I've learned with the sport of MMA also is just, have your basics and the simple little things honed in and become great at those, and everything else will come from that.
How'd Bellator end up recruiting you to join them as opposed to a different organization?
I talked to Bellator and we looked into UFC, and Bellator just made a lot of sense right now with everything they're doing with college wrestlers, and they have a smaller roster, and they're a growing company. It's definitely getting bigger each fight they have, and you're seeing more guys come over and sign with Bellator. So I haven't heard the fighters be as upset in Bellator compared to what we're seeing right now in the UFC. And so, and definitely, sponsorships. That definitely is a big deal to a lot of fighters. And to give up that to the Reebok deal, it just didn't make sense to me right now. And so I'm very happy with Bellator and the way they've treated me. And, they got me a fight right away, and I didn't have to wait. So they're a great company, and I'm happy to be signed with them and see where the future goes with them.
So your short-term goals and long-term goals for Bellator, what are they?
My short-term goals are Friday night. Take care of Friday night first. That's all I'm looking at. Right now I'm going to go in there Friday night. I'm going to get the W, and then I'm going to sit down with Bellator, and we'll go from there. Long-term is to climb that ladder, is to do things the right way, climb the ladder, and put myself in that title contention. And so there's no doubt in my mind that, I will be world champion, but you have to do things right, and you have to take the right steps. You can't just jump, after one fight into a title fight, and I understand that, and I get that. So I know it's going to take time, and I know that I'm going to have to do the right things, and I have the right team behind me with my coaches and management, and I just have a good group of people around me right now, and so we're going to do things the right way. But I definitely see myself winning that world title here in the near future.
With being a video game fan, if there was a Bellator MMA game to come out, would you use yourself on the game?
Of course, I'd have to try it out. You know, that's something. When the first UFC game came out, it was pretty cool to see college wrestlers that I knew in the game. So it would definitely be a cool opportunity to see yourself on a video game.
Any coaches or sponsors that you would like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Henry Hooft, Greg Jones, and Kami, and Robbie Lawler, and Michael Chandler for helping me through this camp. And I would like to thank American Ethanol and Sanford Health for continued support and helping me chase the dream down.
Excellent. And then just before we go, one more quick sales pitch on the fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a good fight. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to show everyone what the next level of fighters, the new generation is really like. And people will see what my wrestling and my hands, how far my striking has come in the last few months, and they will definitely see world-class wrestling. If it ends up going to the ground, they'll see what a real scramble is, a real wrestling scramble and high-level wrestling, what it truly looks like in the sport of MMA. So I'm excited. I'm going to go in there and get the W, and hopefully I'll talk to you again.
Awesome. That would be definitely